Welcome back, DP Review TV viewers. Chris Nichols here. Today we are looking at the brand new Sigma 24-70 2.8 for either Sony E mount or L mount. Now, this is a really interesting lens because we don't have a lot of competition in these mounts yet. So is this lens going to make a mark? Well, what we thought we would do today is get out of the house finally, okay? Now, to be fair, just so you all know, the provincial parks, the national parks, all vehicle access has been shut down on those parks. So what we thought we would do instead is just kind of drive around the backcountry. That's gonna be our fun adventure today. It's gonna be pretty cloudy, it's gonna be pretty cold, but let's see what we get with this lens. Now, the Sigma 24-70 2.8 is an Art Series lens. This is Sigma's most prestigious line, and they are Pro Series lenses. And this absolutely has a Pro Series kind of body design. It's weather sealed, all metal construction, and rugged. It is large, especially compared to a Tamron 28-75 2.8. But compared to the Sony G Master 24-70, this is still smaller and lighter. And I really feel like on this A7R3 body that I'm using today, it does feel balanced. I don't think I'd have any problem carrying this around. It doesn't feel overly heavy. Now, the Sigma 24-70 2.8 Art also does have a fairly large filter thread diameter, 82 millimeters, pretty standard for a lot of the big Pro 2.8 zooms, but those are expensive filters, of course. For all this bulk and weight, though, I do like that we get a custom function button on the side. That's great for eye autofocus on Sony bodies or having an extra customizable feature on whatever camera body you're going to put it on. And you know, this all being said, even though I don't find this lens too heavy, I could absolutely see how somebody might appreciate a lighter package. You know, the Tamron 28-75 2.8 does offer a very compact, lightweight package compared to this lens, but on this body, I do feel like this is still well balanced, and if you consider putting this on an L mount camera, those bodies tend to be quite large and heavy. This would feel very, very comfortable. So overall, I'm not finding the weight and size to be too much of an issue here. Now, we've got a nice autofocus motor on this lens, totally silent. I don't hear it. You know, if you're shooting video or something, you're not going to hear any of that movement. I'm not seeing any hunting. It's nice and quick. So it seems like a very reliable, very fast autofocusing system. So just did some quick tests here, shooting with distortion compensation off at both 24 and 70. 70 is fairly clean, maybe a little bit of pin cushioning, but you know, you get some barrel distortion at 24. It's all very well controlled. It's going to be taken care of with the software in camera or in post very easily and with really no damage to the file. Now, this lens does have significantly capable macro abilities, and looking at it at 24 millimeters, you can get incredibly close. So close that I was worried I was going to scratch the front of the lens with this barbed wire, which would have been bad news. At 70 millimeters, you're a little bit further away. You know, it's still very decent macro capability. Now, there's been some talk about this lens having soft corners, and at least when it came to close-up for this particular test, I mean, yes, they are a little bit softer. Stopping down, though, helps quite a bit, and it really didn't bug me too much. You know, again, overall, the lens isn't incredibly sharp close-up anyways. However, I think it's actually more field curvature which is going on. So I did a test here, focusing in the center and then focusing in the corners, and as long as you specifically focus to the corner once you've composed your image, it's very good. I think where some people might have issues is if they do the classic focus in the center spot and then recompose. Well, that's going to be a real problem here because there is quite a bit of field curvature. So make sure you focus for the corners specifically when you want to do those shots.
Hey everyone, it's Jordan to talk to all of my video people out there. And this is a very compelling lens for you, but it really depends on which mount you're planning to use it for. If you're using it for Sony E mounts, there you've got a whole bunch of bodies with excellent video autofocus. The motor in this works really well. And yes, this lens is focused by wire, but it's not going to be a real issue for that. Now, if you're looking at it for L mount, there you don't have a lot of bodies with really fantastic autofocus. So for that, it might be worth the much higher premium to get the Panasonic 24-70 because you've got a proper focus clutch in it. Whichever way you wind up going though, one thing we're very impressed by is there's extremely little focus breathing. At 70 mils and even at the wide angle at 24, it's a very impressive performance.
Okay, so as you've probably seen throughout the video, this fog has rolled in. It's not going anywhere. You know, it can be beautiful for shooting, but there's only so many trees in the mist that you can see in monochromatic before you're like, this guy. So I think what we're gonna do now is we're gonna head back into town, get indoors, try to finish some res tests, because fog like this, not so good for res. All right, so exciting new location here on the back deck. And first off, take a look at chromatic aberrations. You know, they're there if you look for them. You can see in the samples here, nothing that you couldn't easily control or fix though. When it came to longitudinal chromatic aberration, you know, looking for those transitions of one color in the foreground, another color in the background out of focus, it's pretty well controlled. I mean, there's some there, but it's really pretty normal, pretty average. It's hard to find things to complain about with this lens, but I do have one issue, and it really comes down to when we talk about bokeh. So first off, pretty much on most lenses, when you shoot wide open, it's very common that any highlights in the corners will get this cat's eye effect. The barrel is vignetting the light, and you're getting this sort of cat's eye effect, and it goes away as you stop down. Now, the Sigma 24-70 is no exception. You do get that cat's eye vignetting. However, at 2.8, you also get this extra vignetting. You can very clearly see just the curvature of the barrel, and it's different from other lenses that I've seen. So that would be my one complaint about it. Now, what I really do like about the bokeh on the Sigma 24-70 is how it renders its bokeh when you stop down the lens. So a lot of lenses, when you stop down that aperture, you kind of get a polygonal shape to your highlights, but the Sigma 24-70 has an 11 blade aperture. It's very round in shape, even stop down, and you can see here we get beautiful circular highlights. All that vignetting goes away in the corners, and there's no onion rings or anything. It's a really nice transition from focus to out of focus. Overall, I'd say other than that weird mechanical vignetting wide open, this lens is superb this way. Now, of course, we're all stuck in our homes, so, you know, we got a daddy-daughter project here just to kind of build a cityscape, but it's also a res test. Why not? Let's do it. I know it's not ideal, but it'll work. You know, the Sigma 24-70 art, the first thing I'm going to say is, honestly, it's very comparable to a lot of the high-end glass out there. It is very good and very similar to what I expect out of a pro lens. You know, we look at this at 2.8 in the centers, nice and clean, good sharpness, and if you stop down to 5.6, that only gets better. You can see here. So, center sharpness, fantastic. Now corners, it is typical that we would see some softness in the corners at 2.8 wide open. You are seeing it here, but when we stop down to 5.6, those also sharpen up really nicely. So overall, I think you're gonna find this Sigma to be very, very capable resolution-wise, and you're gonna be happy with it even on high-res bodies. So in conclusion, where does this leave you on whether you should buy this lens or not? Well, I think it depends on what mount you're going for. So if you're going Sony E mount, first thing I would say is you do have a nice option with the Tamron. It's a very similar affordable price point. It is definitely smaller and lighter, but you don't get that 24mm wide angle. But optically, it is a decent performing lens. This lens, though, does represent incredibly good value against the Sony G Master 24-70. It is still managing to be a little bit lighter and a little bit smaller. It is still very good sharpness wise. I love the bokeh results on this lens. So overall, this is a really good choice, and it's way less money. It is a different story though if you're looking at L mount. I mean, you've got lenses like the Leica 24-90, the Panasonic 24-70 2.8, both fantastic lenses, but very expensive, large, heavy, and you know, that's a tough one. The Sigma really does represent fantastic value for the dollar unless you really wanted that manual focus clutch for video work. Now, there is no Tamron 28-75 2.8 for L mount. However, Panasonic does make an excellent 24-105 F4, but although it is more affordable, now we're getting into, you know, apples to oranges. So I think the Sigma 24-70 2.8 at the price point it's at represents incredibly good value for the dollar. And really, I think my final thought is I wouldn't worry about it compared to the Tamron. Those are two good choices, but if I was a manufacturer of really expensive professional zooms like Sony, Canon, Nikon, Panasonic, or Leica, I'd be really worried right now with this lens coming into those mounts. Well, hope you enjoyed looking at the Sigma 24-70 2.8 art lens. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget, please go to Instagram and Twitter, see our comments below. We will have a full sample gallery of this lens on dpreview.com, so don't miss that, check that out. Thanks so much, please subscribe to the channel, and we shall see you guys soon.